Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, Jose Segura, your SMEEA president. And here we are. It's been a really wild week, right? From last Friday till today, it's just been mind-blowing, right? And so here I am touching my face. Um, I can't help it. It's a bad habit that I have. I do it all the time. So I'm really working hard not to be that guy, right? But so I just want to touch base with you all, see how you're feeling. It's been wild, and I got to say, you all have just been amazing. It's just blowing my mind at how so many of you have adapted from traditional face-to-face instruction and have moved into different variations of flexible distance learning, accessing platforms that were already available to you, but that we were really using as tools in the classroom to amplify our face-to-face instruction, and now we're using it as really the tool to communicate with students. And for that, I just think is amazing. As of right now, the district has not moved off of their position that teachers are not having to generate original content for students, that we're accessing and utilizing existing platforms that are already available to students and using those to communicate with them, to check in on them, to provide some direction and instruction and things like that. So just using existing platforms and services that were already available to kids when they were in the classroom and now are continuing to be available to them through this distance learning system that we have set up. Last I heard, the district had distributed thousands of Chromebooks to students, and they're looking at those students who have yet to pick theirs up to see how they can get tech into the hands of those folks, find out what the impediment was to them picking that stuff up, and seeing if they can work around that to get that tech into their hands. I know not all students, even if they have a Chromebook, are not connected to the internet. Hopefully folks are working on that, but right now that's not your concern, right? Your job is to continue to continue to make connections with students, continue to access the existing platforms that are available to you to connect with your students and to communicate with them and to make sure that they know that you care about them, to make sure they know that they are loved and that they are missed and that you're there for them when you need them. And that's super, super important right now. I'm hearing a lot from teachers, both through social media and directly, who are saying to me, Jose, I just feel so bad because I wasn't able to just say goodbye to my kids. I wasn't able to send them off in a manner that in which they deserve, because as you know, Friday night, we were all coming to work on Monday, and then as of Sunday night, boom, schools are closed. And so a lot of teachers feeling that stress and that anxiety of not having that closure with their students. And so what I'd say to you is just, you got to work with what you have, right? You got to do your best with what you have. I had a teacher who emailed me, again, with the same concern. She was very upset, and she was also upset because she wasn't used to using technology as a tool for teaching. She was used to using it as a resource for students as part of a more comprehensive face-to-face instructional model. And so I suggested to her that don't worry about all the different platforms. You know how to use a telephone. Go into Aries, something you do every day when you take your roll. Pull up your students' demographic information. In there is a phone number for every kid, at least one, whether it's a direct line to the home or a parent's cell phone, whatever it is. And just start making those calls. Cold call kids, do wellness checks. How are you doing? Do you have your Chromebook? Are you on? Are you able to log on? Are you having any problems? Here's a few tips on things you can do throughout your day. Do you have any questions for me? Stuff like that. Just make those connections. And so she spent about an hour doing that, connecting with every one of her kids by phone, and it made her feel so much better, and I'm sure it made those kids feel so much better that she was able to make that connection. And she'll pick up the platform, accessing the platforms as this time goes on, but to make those initial connections, even if you have to take an hour a day and make those phone calls, it's a platform that's available to everybody. We all know how to pick up a phone and make a call. And it was very kind of relieving for that teacher to be able to have that connection with their students in a way that we really don't think about doing, right? It's not something that we think about all the time, about picking up our phone and calling our students directly or calling their families directly. So thank you for all of you who are stepping up and helping out your fellow teachers. You're putting advice online. I've seen on SMEEA's social media page where a teacher will ask a question, share a concern or a worry, and then within minutes other folks are jumping on and saying, well, have you tried this, or how about that, or give me a call and I'll help you out. And it's just phenomenal. It really, really is. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about, is just acknowledging just the the sheer magnitude of the effort that you all are putting out and continue to put out as we make this shift from face-to-face instruction to this flexible distance learning. And as you all know by now, the governor has now said 2 days in a row that we should not expect to return to school for the remainder of this year. Now, our district hasn't said that yet, and most districts have not made those formal announcements, but we are hearing from the folks up on high that things are going to get worse before they get better, and we really need to plan as if that is the case. Second thing is your health. Are you taking time for yourself? Your kids are home. If you're like me and you thought you were an empty nester because your kids are out of college or they've moved out, by the end of next week, I'm probably going to have all of my girls back in the home with my wife and I. Their schools, their universities, their programs are shutting down and they're sending people home. Their jobs are shutting down. And so there's no reason for them to stay in the community that they're in because there's no school, there's no work. And so they're coming home. And we're having to make that transition as a family as well to all of us back in the home all day together with each other. We're not coming and going like we normally do, right? We're in it to win it as a family. And so for you all, taking the time for yourself, calm yourself, relax, breathe, stretch, exercise, take a walk the dog, run a mile, whatever it is you do. But I want you to be aware that our health program provides something called MD Live. And MD Live is a virtual medical doctor's appointment. There are board certified doctors at the end of MD Live. You can either do a voice call or you can do face-to-face teleconferencing with them. For non-emergency medical needs, they are there for you. I sent an email to everybody in your district email. You should have it. And in there is a link to the flyer that tells you how you can get yourself signed up, get your account activated for both you and your family for MD Live. And you can either do it by phone or you can do it online to activate. You can also use the health app for that. So please, if you haven't done so, activate your MD Live account. As of right now, as far as I know, MD Live co-pays are only $5. There was talk about waiving those co-pays. I don't know if that's happened yet, but $5 is a co-pay for any MD Live accounts. And I want you to know too, MD Live services also include behavioral health. If you're feeling stressed, you're worried, this is a big change, you just need somebody to talk to, you don't have a regular therapist or counselor, or you can't get to them because they're not taking appointments because they want to maintain that social distancing, MD Live can help you with that. You can access behavioral health specialists through this virtual process of either on the call phone or teleconferencing, and so that you can make sure that you are taking care of yourself while you're working to take care of all of your students. Third thing, FAQs. Our FAQ page that went out on Monday has been a big hit. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of opens every day. So you folks are reading those, you're going through them, which is awesome. Just so you know, if you don't see your exact question in there, it's because maybe we had 4 or 5 or 6 folks asking the same thing. So we kind of took the question, found the one that was the most succinct, the most direct, and then we used that to respond to the question. So if you're not seeing your exact wordings in there, it's because multiple people have asked the same question. Also, if you ask a question we don't have an answer to, we're not going to make something up. No, we're here to provide accurate information through a process of transparency so that you all know what we know. And if we don't have an answer to your question, we'll go out and we'll find it. If we still don't have an answer by 4 o'clock, we won't respond to that question. We'll continue to look for answers. So if your question is not there with an answer, then just know that we are working on it, trying to provide everybody with an accurate response, whether it's from the state, the federal government, local county, our school district, or whatever it is, we're looking into it for you. Okay, so keep checking those FAQs. They're coming out every day, 4 o'clock. And then the last thing, this is amazing. The unsung heroes of this entire insanity is our classified folks. When we found out on Sunday that schools were going to be closed and we didn't have to report, teachers were able to volunteer to show up, to break down Chrome cards, make lunches, pass out technology and supplies, and do all the things that you all have been doing. And lots of you have done that, which is awesome. But the classified person right next to you during all this is not there as a volunteer. They are being directed to report to work. They were classified as essential employees. They needed to be there. And so they are stepping up and doing their part because they're required to be there. So they don't have the luxury that we do to determine whether or not staying home is the right thing for me, or am I in a position where I can go out and volunteer and provide my services for however long it is I want to do that, for an hour, for 2 hours, for the entire day, whatever it is. They're not getting that. As of today, our superintendent has put out an email that kind of outlines what's happening now with some of our classified folks, because we now have a statewide stay-at-home directive from our Department of Public Health and our governor. And so you have folks like office managers who are working remotely from home using teleconferencing equipment in order to communicate with staff and parents and students. And that's awesome, but there are still folks who are being required to show up. And we want to make sure that those folks have all the love and support that they can possibly get from us, from our teachers and our educators, because really without classified folks, as we really have learned over these last few days, that teachers, we're the face of school, of education. We're the frontline folks. We're there every day. We're talking to kids. We're engaging with them. We're teaching them. We're trying to help them become the best that they can be. But none of that's possible without the backbone of our schools and our district, which is our classified folks. So hats off to Matt Harris. He's the president of our local CSEA. Not only is he working his IT job during all of this, but he's also running his union. He's keeping his folks informed. He's advocating for them. It's just a nonstop job. So, all the love and support to our classified folks out there. Thank you. And that's about it. I really just want you to take a breath, try to relax the best you can. We're educators. If nothing else, educators are used to change. I don't care what anybody says. The folks who are the most used to change are public educators, because we are constantly in a process of evolutionary change from day to day. Sometimes the evolutions are huge and sometimes they're small and it's hard to see, but public education is always changing. This may just be the next evolutionary step in public education. It doesn't mean that it's a forever thing, but it's going to be for a while. Like I said, you should be planning your work world around this idea that our students and you will not see the inside of a classroom until the fall of next year. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not me being overly pessimistic. That is the reality in which we currently live. And so kind of let that settle in. And once you do, then figure out, well, how do you proceed? How do you move forward? And don't worry about questions you can't answer, right? If you haven't gotten a directive from your principal or from a district, just focus on what you do know, focus on what you can do, focus on what your students need right now, regardless of what your subject area is, your department, whether you're primary or upper grade or middle school or junior high, it doesn't matter what service you provide. It's about making sure you make connections with students and that we're supporting each other. All right, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you soon.